Lost in the frozen wasteland, the wind screamed like a wild animal through the broken hills of the ice world. Snow whipped in every direction, sharp as knives, blinding the eyes and biting the skin. The sun had not shown its face for 3 days. Everything was white. Everything was cold. And everything was trying to kill him. James stumbled forward through the snow, legs barely moving. His body was numb. His fingers inside the gloves didn't even feel like his anymore. He had stopped feeling his toes hours ago. His mouth was dry, his lips were cracked, his beard was frozen. The last thing he remembered eating was half a ration bar. 2 days ago, his small survival beacon was dead. The crash had taken out most of his gear. The emergency pod landed miles off course on this ice moon Zarathus 7, his ship. The tracer had been hit by a rogue magnetic burst, and no one knew he had landed here. No one was coming. James fell to one knee, then to both. His vision blurred. The wind howled louder, like it was laughing at him. The snow pushed into his coat, under his collar. He gasped, then collapsed face first into the ice. Was this how it ended? The cold crept into his bones. It was no longer painful, just quiet. Peaceful. He closed his eyes, but then something touched him. Not the snow, not the wind, something warm. Soft whisper broke through the storm. Take my warmth. It was a voice, a woman's voice. James blinked slowly. A strange blur hovered above him. He thought it was a dream, or death, but then warm hands turned him over. He felt fur, not snow. A soft blanket was being wrapped around him. His chest rose with a gasp. Air rushed into his lungs. Warmth spread slowly into his body, like fire melting frozen steel. He looked up. There was a woman kneeling beside him. No, not a woman. Something more. Her skin had a faint glow, like moonlight on water. Her long dark hair blew in the wind, and her strange eyes, deep violet, with silver rings, looked down at him with concern. She wore torn fabric, old armor pieces, and a heavy cloak made from stitched-together materials. Her face was too perfect, too still, alien, and yet beautiful. Who? James whispered, his voice almost lost in the wind. She pressed her finger gently against his lips. No talk. Breathe. She leaned forward and placed her palm against his chest. James felt a sudden rush of warmth again. Like heat was being passed from her hand directly into his heart. He gasped again. His body jerked. His heart started beating stronger. She stood slowly and looked around. Then she pulled him up with surprising strength for someone so thin. He was almost unconscious, but she wrapped his arm around her shoulder and began to drag him toward a slope in the snow. He didn't know how long they walked. Minutes? Hours? He faded in and out of darkness, barely aware of the snow crunching under her feet. Finally, they reached a hole between two rocks. A hidden cave. She guided him inside and dropped him gently onto a soft pile of old blankets and cloth. The cave was dim, but safe. A tiny fire pit burned in the corner. Glowing crystals were tucked along the walls, giving off a soft light. It was warmer here, still cold, but not deadly. James groaned and sat up. The woman knelt beside him again, removing her wet outer cloak and setting it near the fire. Steam rose from it. You saved me, James said, voice hoarse. The woman didn't answer. She just stared at him with quiet eyes. He tried to sit up fully. What's your name? She tilted her head slightly. Then, after a moment, she answered, Naira. Her voice was soft, with a strange accent. Each word sounded careful, like she was learning the language. Thank you, Naira, James said. I'm James Corvain, Earth. Naira looked confused. For a second, then she nodded slowly. You, not alone now. James shivered, even under the warm blanket. What are you doing here? Are you stranded too? She didn't reply. Instead, she sat beside him, curled up, and placed her hand against his again. The warmth returned, pulsing gently into his skin. Her body was like a living heater, no more than that. It felt like her energy, her very life force, was flowing into him. James looked at her closely. There was something in her eyes. Kindness, but also sadness. Deep, unspoken sadness. "Naira," he said softly. "Why are you helping me?" She didn't look at him, just stared into the small fire and whispered, "Because once someone left me in the cold too." The fire crackled quietly between them as outside the blizzard raged on. James woke slowly. His body was warm, but sore. The pain in his limbs was dull now, not sharp like before. His eyes blinked open and adjusted to the soft glow of crystals around the cave walls. The fire still flickered in the corner. He turned his head and saw her Naira sitting with her legs folded, staring quietly at the flames. She was still as stone, her violet eyes focused, unblinking. James tried to sit up and groaned. The movement made his bones ache. Naira turned her head. "Don't move too fast," she said. Her voice was calm but firm. James looked down at himself. His jacket had been removed and dried. The alien cloakers was draped over him. His hands and feet were wrapped in strips of soft cloth. She had taken care of him while he slept. "How long have I been out?" he asked. "Almost one rotation," she answered. James guessed that meant around a full day on this moon. He let out a long breath. "I would have died out there." Naira didn't reply. She stood and walked to a small container in the corner. She scooped out something from inside and returned with a bowl made of curved crystal. Inside was a thick blue soup, steaming and strange smelling. "Drink." He hesitated. She raised an eyebrow. "You trust the cold, but not me?" He took the bowl with both hands and drank slowly. The taste was odd, earthy and sweet, but not bad. More importantly, it was warm. "Thank you," he said. "Really. You saved my life." Naira nodded and sat back down, curling her legs beneath her again. "You were almost frozen. Your heart was slowing. How did you find me?" James asked. Naira hesitated, then said, "I sensed you." He blinked. "Sensed?" She looked away for a second, then back. "I feel warmth. Or the lack of it." I knew something living was fading nearby. James stared at her. There was something different about her, something he couldn't explain. Her skin still faintly glowed near her neck, where blue veins shimmered like soft light under the skin. She didn't shiver. Her body was made for cold. "You're not just surviving out here. You're part of this place, aren't you?" Naira's lips moved slightly, but no smile came. "This place tried to kill me too, long ago." James leaned forward. "How long have you been here?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked toward the cave entrance. "Since I fell. Since I was thrown away." "Thrown away?" She nodded. "My ship was not mine. I was cargo, disposable." James clenched his jaw. "Someone left you here to die?" "Yes," she said simply. The fire cracked softly between them. He looked at her more carefully now. Her armor wasn't military. It was old, patched, mismatched. Scars were visible across her arms, one near her collarbone. She had clearly survived. "Worse than snow. I'm sorry," he said. "No one deserves that." Naira glanced at him. "Then why do humans do it too?" James was taken aback. "Not all of us. Enough of you," she replied. "My people feared humans." "I didn't. They said your kind brings fire and ruin wherever you land." I said no. I said humans have heart. James looked down at the bowl in his hands. "Sometimes we do. Sometimes we forget." They sat in silence for a while. The snow outside howled louder. The wind pressed against the rocks above, but the cave held strong. Finally, James spoke again. "You helped me, Naira. You didn't have to. Why?" Naira turned her eyes to him, calm, steady, full of something old and tired. "Because," she said softly, "if I let you die, then I'm no better than those who left me here. I won't be like them. James nodded slowly. He understood now. She wasn't just surviving, she was holding on to her last piece of hope. Her choice to save him was her way of staying alive inside. You're strong, he whispered. Ny shook her head. No, just stubborn. A faint smile played on her lips, the first he had seen. He laughed a little, even though his body ached. Stubborn keeps us alive. She stood again and began packing something into a small bag. Dried roots, crystal shards, bits of fuel. She moved gracefully, like someone who had done this routine 1,000 times. Where are you going? He asked. To the ice cliffs. I must check the signal crystals. Signal? You have a way to call for help? Naira paused. Not anymore. But if energy flows are strong, I can send a light pulse. Maybe someone sees it. James nodded. Then I'm coming with you. You can't walk far, she said quickly. Maybe not fast. But I'm not staying here while you do all the work. You saved me. Let me return the favor. Naira looked at him for a long time. Then finally she gave a small nod. Fine, but fall behind, and I leave you in the snow. Deal, he said with a smile. As they prepared to step into the storm again, James glanced at her and whispered to himself, who really is this woman? And why does her warmth feel more than just heat? Snowflakes fell slower now, but the cold was still brutal. Each step James took outside the cave felt like dragging a frozen rock behind him. Naira moved ahead like a shadow light, fast, sure-footed. She didn't leave footprints for long. The wind erased them within seconds. James wrapped himself in a patchy fur coat she gave him. It was made from stitched animal skins, unknown but surprisingly warm. Around his neck hung a crystal pendant that glowed faintly blue. Naira had placed it there to balance his warmth, she said. He didn't understand it fully, but it seemed to help. They traveled in silence for some time. The land was dead, just endless snow hills, sharp ice ridges, and broken boulders. But then, in the distance, something strange appeared. Black shapes jutted from the ground. Like claws or ruined buildings. Nyar. He slowed down. What is this place? James asked. A broken camp, she replied softly. Long ago, others came here. Not from my people, not from yours either. Who then? She stopped and looked around. No one left to tell. They entered the ruins. Giant steel towers. Lay snapped in half. Melted metal and broken machines stuck out from the ground. There were collapsed domes, cracked solar panels, and many bones half buried under snow. Some looked human, others didn't. James crouched beside a shattered pod. What happened here? Firestorm, Naira said. Radiation, then the cold. James ran his hand along the scorched metal. And no one came to save them? No one ever comes back here. Naira walked ahead, climbing through twisted metal. She moved with ease, as if she had walked this path before. Maybe she had. In the center of the ruins stood a tall post. At the top, a broken light panel barely held together. She climbed up halfway, removed a glowing crystal from her bag, and slid it into a socket. The panel flashed once, then flickered weakly. She waited. Nothing. No pulse, she said. James stood beside her. Is that it? No signal? Energy. Lines are dead. The storm buried everything, he sighed. So, what now? She looked at the horizon. We find a new place. Safer cave, better light, more food. James looked back at the skeletons. Why not just stay in the cave? Naira turned to him slowly. Because they know now, James frowned. Who? She said nothing, just walked deeper into the ruins. They passed a row of destroyed containers. Inside one, James found some rations sealed in old packaging. The writing was in alien text, but Naira nodded. Safe, take them. He stuffed them into his pouch. Suddenly, A loud crack echoed nearby. James spun around. What was that? Neera raised her hand, silent, listening. Then she whispered, "Don't move." A shape crawled over the top of a fallen wall. It wasn't snow. It was alive, long limbs, pale, stretched skin, eyes like black holes, thin and fast. The creature sniffed the air and froze. James held his breath. Neera raised her palm, and the crystal in her hand glowed softly. The creature hissed and vanished into the dark. What was that? James asked, heart racing. Heat hunter, she replied. They find by scent and warmth. You said they know now, she nodded. My energy saved you. But now they smell us both. James shivered, not from cold, but fear. We need to move, she said, before night. They gathered what they could. Neera led them toward a narrow tunnel at the far end of the ruins. It led underground, deep below the ice. The walls glowed faintly with blue moss and veins of crystal. It wasn't warm, but it was hidden. After a long walk, they reached a large chamber. Old alien tech was scattered across the ground lights. Broken drones, armor pieces. Someone lived here once, James said. Maybe still do, Neera whispered. They set up a small fire in a safe corner. Neera crushed some herbs, mixed them with snow, and handed James a drink. It tasted bitter but warmed his stomach. You've been here a long time, James said quietly. She nodded. Why didn't you give up? Neera stared into the flames. Because I was forgotten, and I wanted to remember who I am. James tilted his head. And who are you? Neera looked at him with tired eyes. Someone who was meant to be used, then discarded. But I'm still here. That must mean something. James leaned closer. To me, it means everything. Her eyes lingered on him. For a moment, her expression softened. But she looked away quickly. Rest now, she said. We move again at first light. He nodded. As he lay near the fire, wrapped in strange blankets. He watched her. She sat like a silent guardian, one hand on her crystal blade, eyes never closing. James knew now this wasn't just about survival anymore. Neera was more than a stranger. She was his only chance, and maybe he was hers. James woke up sweating. At first, he thought it was a dream. The underground air should have been cold, but instead, it felt heavy and hot like the inside of a machine overheating. His skin was damp and his shirt stuck to his back. The fire had gone out hours ago. Something wasn't right. He turned over and looked toward Nyara. She was curled up near the wall, trembling. Her skin glowed brighter than ever before, too bright. It pulsed with waves of red and gold, lighting up the crystal walls. Her hands were clenched tightly, her breath shallow. Her chest rose and fell fast, and her lips moved silently like she was whispering to someone who wasn't there. Nyara? James crawled over quickly. Hey, what's wrong? She didn't respond. Her body was hot, burning. James reached for her hand and gasped. It felt like touching metal left under the sun, painfully hot. He snatched his hand back. Her body was overheating. Nyara! Can you hear me? Her eyes opened slightly. The violet in them was dull now, almost gray. You, she whispered, her voice cracking, took too much. What? My warmth. I gave too much too fast. She closed her eyes again. James sat frozen. He thought she had some natural resistance to the cold, a body that produced heat like a miracle. But now he realized it wasn't magic. It had limits. And maybe he had pushed her past them without knowing. Panic swelled in his chest. He grabbed a cloth and dipped it into melted snow nearby, then gently pressed it against her forehead. Steam hissed from her skin. Still too hot. He didn't know her biology. He didn't know how to help. She had saved his life, and now he was helpless to return the favor. Okay, he whispered to himself, standing. Think, James, think. He scanned the shelter. On one side, he spotted a broken metal case alien tech, probably scavenged. He rushed to it, pried it open, and found something that looked like a storage unit for cryopacks. 2 were cracked, but 1 blinked green. He activated it. The pack lit up blue and turned ice cold in seconds. James rushed back and gently placed it against Naira's chest. Just above her heart, she gasped. Her body flinched, but she didn't open her eyes. The glowing red began to slow. Minutes passed. Like hours. James kept switching the pack's position, chest, neck, back. Each time, he saw the glow dim, the heat lower. Finally, after what felt like forever, Naira's breathing became steady. She whispered something in her native tongue, soft and weak, but her color began to return to normal. James sat back, exhausted. He had no training for this. No guide, just instinct. He watched her sleep, and for the first time he noticed her. Up close, not as some alien being, not as a survivor or a stranger, but as someone fragile. Someone real. She wasn't built to be a savior. She was just someone who cared too deeply. Later, as the shelter darkened, Naira stirred. James was beside her, ready. "You're okay. You're safe." She opened her eyes halfway. "You stayed." He nodded. "Of course I stayed." Her lips moved in a faint smile. "Should have left, would have been safer." "I already told you," James said. "We're in this together." Naira tried to sit up, but James gently pushed her back down. "Not yet, you need rest. You're nearly burned out." She looked up at the crystal ceiling. "I forgot how weak I am." "When I care, what does that mean?" Naira didn't answer for a long time. Then she whispered, "My people were trained to endure." Emotion was seen as wasteful, dangerous. "We gave heat only when ordered, but I gave mine to you. Because I wanted to. That was my mistake." James shook his head. "That wasn't a mistake. You don't understand," she said. "What I gave you, it was part of my life. I won't get it back. My time is shorter now." Silence filled the cave. James looked at her, throat tight. "Then let me give something back. I'm not going to watch you fade away just because you saved me." She stared at him, eyes soft. "You're not like others." He smiled sadly. "You're not either." Outside, the wind howled again. Somewhere in the distance, a low, sharp cry echoed. Naira's eyes flicked toward the tunnel. "They're still searching. Heat hunters?" "Yes," she said. "They move by the heat signatures. They know I've weakened." "They'll come soon." James stood. "Then we move before they do." Naira struggled to sit up, but James caught her and helped her slowly to her feet. She leaned against him, light, but unsteady. "This time," she whispered, "you carry me." He nodded, gripping her hand tightly. "Gladly." As they stepped into the dark tunnel ahead, their shadows merged under the crystal light. For the first time, it was no longer just survival. It was a promise. The wind outside had changed. It didn't howl like before. It whispered, now low, cold, and sharp like voices hidden in the snow. James felt it first, not just in his skin, but in his bones. A strange pressure in the air, as if something was moving out there. Watching them, he held Naira close as they walked slowly through the narrow ice tunnels. Her body was weak, her steps uncertain. The warmth she used to carry like a shield was fading. She leaned against him with every step, just a little farther. James said softly, "There's another cave ahead. You'll rest there." Naira didn't answer. Her face was pale, and sweat rolled down her temples, even in the freezing air. Her glow had faded almost completely. James felt helpless again. He wished he could give her heat the way she gave it to him. But he was only human. Weak flesh, slow steps, nothing like her. Then he heard it, a soft click, followed by another. Naira's eyes opened wide. "Stop!" James froze. "What is it?" He whispered. She tilted her head slowly. "They're here." The clicking sounds grew louder, faster. Then came scratching. Not from one side, but from every direction. James turned and saw long shadows moving between the frozen cracks of the tunnel. Thin figures crawling along walls and ceilings like insects. Dozens of them. They followed the heat trail, Naira said, voice low. My body, it's calling to them. The creatures crept into view. Long arms, no mouths, skin like frostbitten leather. Their eyes glowed white-blue in the dark. They didn't walk, they slithered on limbs that bent the wrong way. James stepped. In front of Naira. I won't let them touch you. One creature hissed and leapt forward. Before James could move, Naira raised her hand. A flash of red light burst from her palm, blasting the creature mid-air. It crashed into the wall and melted into steam. The others shrieked dot, but Naira fell to her knees right after. The pulse had cost her. Get her back. James shouted, swinging a broken metal rod at another creature rushing him. He hit it once hard. The rod cracked, but the creature fell back, stunned. More came crawling through the cracks. There were too many. NYRA grabbed James's sleeve, pulling him toward a narrow path behind them. The cliff. We can jump. What? We'll die. Better than being drained alive, she said. He looked behind. The creatures closed in fast, surrounding them like water. No other way out. Fine, he said, picking her up again. Hold on. They ran. The tunnel opened into a wide cliffside. Icy wind blasted through the opening. Far below, the cliff dropped into darkness. But across the gap was another rock shelf, barely visible. James didn't stop to think. He ran full speed and jumped. They soared through the air. The wind roared in his ears. Then crash. They hit the other side, hard. Snow and rocks slid under his boots as he tumbled, holding Naira close. He rolled twice before coming to a stop. His shoulder burned. His ribs ached, but they were alive. Behind them, the creatures hissed, but couldn't cross. They clung to the other side, watching in silence as James and Naira crawled behind a rock wall and into another hollow cave. He set her down gently and collapsed beside her, breathing hard. Naira's face was pale, but her eyes were open. You jumped for me. You saved me first, he whispered. I'm just returning the favor. She reached up, her fingers brushing his jaw. No human has ever done this for one like me. James caught her hand and held it tight. Then maybe it's time that changed. She blinked slowly. Her eyes were tired, but she smiled. Your heart, it's strong, even if your body isn't, he chuckled. Thanks. I guess that's a compliment. They lay side by side, their backs against the rock. Naira shifted slightly and whispered, James, yeah? If I don't make it, you will, he interrupted. Listen, she said gently. There's something in me, a core, a life crystal. If I break, it survives. Take it. It will guide you to safety. James shook his head. I don't want the crystal. I want you. I'm serious. So am I. Their eyes locked. Then James leaned closer. He wasn't sure why. Maybe the cold. Maybe the fear. Maybe the fact they had nothing left but each other. But when his forehead touched hers, something passed between them. A wave of energy. Warm. Pure. Not just heat, but connection. Naira gasped. Her body glowed faintly again. Her hand gripped as tightly. What did you do? She whispered. I don't know, he said. But maybe you don't have to give me warmth anymore. Why? Because now, James whispered, I'll share mine with you. Asterisk, the fire crackled softly inside the new cave. It was small, hidden deep inside a cliffside pocket, away from the frozen wind and the eyes of the heat hunters. James sat beside Naira, watching her sleep. Her skin no longer glowed bright, but a soft, steady warmth had returned. The strange moment they shared, when he touched his forehead to hers, still played in his mind. He didn't understand it, but something had changed. She wasn't fading anymore. When Naira opened her eyes, they held a new light, calm but alert. She looked at him with quiet wonder, then sat up without shaking. "You're stronger," James said. She nodded slowly. "And you are warmer." "I didn't do anything." Naira stared at him. "You did. Your body reacted to mine. That's not normal." "Well, I've been called not normal before," he joked, but Naira didn't smile. Her face turned serious. "I need to tell you something," she said. James leaned in. "Okay, I'm listening." She sat straight, folding her hands in, her lap like someone preparing to share a deep memory. "I wasn't just cargo," she began. "I was royal blood. A descendant of the solar line keepers of warmth, protectors of dying colonies. We were born to share life, to give heat when others could not. But it came with a cost. Each gift shortens our own time." James frowned. "You mean you're royalty?" "I was," she said, "until I refused to give warmth to a warlord. He wanted to burn his enemies alive with me. I said no." He understood now. "That's why they left you here," she nodded. "They called it exile. I call it slow death." James felt anger building inside. "They punished you for having a heart." "No," she whispered. "They punished me for using it." There was silence between them. Then Naira looked at him again. "But you're not from my world. You shouldn't be able to connect with me that way. Your touch had fed my core, not drained it." James rubbed the back of his neck. "I've never done anything like that before. I mean, I've given hugs, but that's about it." Naira reached out and touched his hand gently. "You don't just produce heat. You produce something deeper, emotion, purpose. When I touched your thoughts, I felt pain, kindness, fire." James blinked. "You can read my thoughts?" "Only the loud ones," she said. "The ones closest to your heart." "Then tell me what you heard." She paused. "You were afraid of dying alone, but more than that, you were afraid I would." James looked away. "You're right." She smiled softly. "That's why I lived." Then, her face turned serious again. "There's more. When I gave you warmth in the snow, I left a part of myself inside you. My spark, I thought it would fade, but it didn't. It grew." James stared at her. "What are you saying?" "You're not just human anymore, James." His heart skipped. "What?" "Something in you changed. I can feel it. Your cells, your aura, it's syncing with mine." James was quiet. Then he asked, "Is that bad?" "I don't know yet," she said, "but it's never happened before." James stood up and paced. "So now I'm carrying part of you inside me." "Yes, and that may be the only reason." "I'm alive." He stopped and looked at her. "Then I'm glad. I'd do it again." Naira's eyes watered slightly, but she wiped them quickly. "There's one more thing," she said. "My kind, we're hunted because of this ability. And if someone finds out you carry it too, they'll hunt me?" "Yes." James took a deep breath. "Then let them come." "Don't be foolish." "I'm not," he said. "You're not alone anymore. If I've got your spark, then I'll protect it." She stared at him for a long moment. Then, without a word, she moved closer and rested her head against his chest. James didn't move. Her voice came soft. "You don't know what this means to me." "I don't need to," he said. "I just know I don't want to lose you." The fire burned low, but the cave stayed warm. Later, Naira sat up again. "We need to go north. There's an old relay tower buried in the ice. If we activate it, it might reach a rescue ship." James nodded. "Then that's where we're going." She touched his wrist. "You'll feel the cold more now. My spark will try to protect me. It might pull energy from you." "Then you better not let go of my hand," Naira smiled. "Deal." They packed the little they had and stepped into the frozen dark once again together. But now, something was different. They weren't just two survivors. They were bound by fire, by sacrifice, by something neither of them fully understood yet. The wind howled louder as they climbed. Ice cracked under James's boots, and his fingers ached with every step, but he didn't stop. Naira moved beside him slowly, her cloak fluttering behind her like a faded banner. Her glow had returned soft, controlled, but James knew she was holding it back, saving what little energy she had left. Ahead of them stood the relay tower, buried halfway in snow. Its metal was bent, covered in frost, but its core structure still reached toward the sky. Like a hand begging for help. "This is it," Naira said, her voice faint against the wind. "If we can power it, someone might still hear." James looked up. The top was jagged, the signal dish broken, but the base unit still had a place for a crystal. "You brought one?" he asked. She pulled a small shard from her chest pouch. It shimmered blue-green and vibrated slightly in her hand. "This will work," she said. "But there's a cost." James froze. "What kind of cost?" Naira looked at him, the wind tugging at her dark hair. "This crystal was made from my spark. If I plug it in, it will drain the rest." "No, it's the only way. There has to be something else." She stepped closer, gently placing her hand on his chest. "James, we found each other. In death's shadow, you gave me hope again. But this world is still killing us. If I don't send the signal, we both die here." James grabbed her wrist. "Then let's die together, not apart." Her eyes softened. "Don't say that." "I mean it." Naira leaned in, resting her forehead against his again. This time, the connection was stronger. Her warmth surged through him, but now his warmth pushed back. Their bond hummed between them like a living fire, and then she stepped back. "No. More giving," she whispered. "Only sharing." She held the crystal up, and for a second, James thought he saw her hesitate. Then she stabbed the crystal into the port. The tower shook. A deep hum echoed through the ice. Lights along the side began to flicker. Steam hissed from vents buried beneath the snow. The sky above cracked open as a faint blue signal beam shot upward, weak, flickering, but real. Naira fell to her knees. James rushed to catch her. Her glow flickered like a dying ember. "Naira, stay with me." She smiled faintly. "The signal's out, now we wait." "No, you rest. Don't fade, you hear me?" Her fingers trembled as they gripped his coat. "I feel cold." James lowered her gently to the snow. His own skin began to warm unnaturally. His veins felt like they were on fire, and then he remembered. Her spark was inside him now. He looked down at his hands. They were glowing. A part of her lived in him. He didn't know what to do, but his instincts guided him. He pressed both hands over her heart and closed his eyes. "Take it back," he whispered. "Whatever you gave me, take it back." Naira's lips parted in a breathless sound. Her skin glowed faintly. Slowly, her chest rose. He kept going. "Take my warmth. I don't need all of it." Her body arched slightly under his hands. A soft pulse of light surged between them. James gasped. It was like a heartbeat between two souls. One moment, two lives intertwined. Then silence. Naira opened her eyes slowly. Her voice was a whisper. "You gave it back." "I didn't give," James said weakly. "I shared." Her eyes filled with tears. She sat up, shaking, but alive. The glow between them faded, settling into a soft golden light under their skin. A balance had formed. They didn't just survive each other, they completed each other. Far above, a faint rumble echoed in the clouds. A red beacon blinked in response to the tower's pulse. Naira looked up. A ship. James followed her gaze. "They heard us," she smiled weakly. "Then maybe we get a second chance." He pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly as the sky lit up with incoming lights. Minutes later, the rescue ship descended slowly from the sky, hovering just above the ice. Its hatch opening, a team of suited figures ran out, shouting in languages James didn't understand. One of them spotted him and rushed over. You alive? The figure called. James nodded. We both are. They loaded James and Naira into the med bay. The rescuers stared at her confused, cautious, but didn't stop him from holding her hand. As the ship lifted off, and the white wasteland faded beneath them, James whispered to Naira, "We made it." She looked at him, tired but glowing. Together. And for the first time since the cold tried to kill them both, they felt warm,